Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're watching the Power Play Break, the place to talk about pucks.
Back here with Pete Weber. Pete, you're in LA now, and you work with Bob Miller. You work, and Chick Hearn is there. Forum must be an exciting time. You know, I mean, hockey's out there, and Jack Kent Cooke has brought hockey to LA. Talk about like what they were doing for you with Bob Miller and Chick Hearn.
I was blessed in this sense. I followed Rich Marotta doing color with Bob, and at that point in time, Jack Kent Cooke had removed himself from the immediate scene. He wasn't there that much because he would sort of intimidate other broadcasters, but he was trying to establish residency in Las Vegas so he could get this divorce and not go with the California 50-50 laws. So I was lucky that way, but more than lucky with the experience of watching how Bob prepared and also how Chick prepared. Plus, the color guy for the Lakers at the time was a guy named Pat Riley.
Oh, wow.
And he always prepared as a coach.
Yeah.
Always prepared as a coach, not knowing he was going to end up in that in a couple more years. But as I'm doing that, there's an opening. A regional sports network is going to start in Seattle to do the Sonics games. And not only did Chick help me get that, but so too also did the guy who was the marketing man at that time for the Trailblazers, who I had known from the Buffalo Braves, John Spoelstra.
Okay.
Eric Spoelstra's dad, the coach of the Heat now.
The networking with you is amazing, I have to say.
So John helped push me into that job, and I got that, but unfortunately only for 1 year, because I guess I was a stopgap for a guy whose contract would come open later the next year. But in any case, I got a full year of TV, NBA play-by-play experience and knew that's what I wanted to do. But preceding that summer, because of my love of baseball, and the Dodgers AAA club in Albuquerque had an opening. So I went to the Dukes that summer, right after the Kings were done, do the Dukes, and then lo and behold, this Sonics thing opens up. So I wish I could calculate in today's dollars what the shipping charges were for the tapes and so on that I was sending around. But that was fantastic. But when the Seattle thing closed up and I realized it was over there, that was when it was time to go back to Buffalo in 1982.
Now, talk about the difference between doing radio, a broadcast, and a TV broadcast.
Yeah.
In radio, you have to paint a larger picture for the listener.
Right.
In television, the pictures just tell the story.
Right, and if you have a good communication with your television producer, you're going to have a nice fine flow. But it's just like Scully told all the young broadcasters, you have that canvas in radio. In TV, you're captioning. And how creative can you be with the captioning? I think we have a little more leeway with that in hockey today. And for the first 8 years of the Predators, we did simulcasts. So, and we did simulcasts with Bob and me with the Kings, but that was only like 20 to 25 games on the old KHJ, now KCAL 9 in Los Angeles. So, and boy, we had to time our intermissions just precisely with features we'd send back for radio to correspond with television. So I learned a lot about the technical aspects of the business there. But on television, yes, and Terry Crisp had to learn this from me. We had, when we started out with the Preds, like 40 simulcasts, the rest all radio. But not to say, as you can see here, or on the left of your screen, but you would say on the right wing, for example. That's what this happened if he was telestrating something. It is a more, I think, of a language challenge and how much of the language you use than anything else.
But your time in LA, you had to have some great characters, great stories, meet people, celebrities probably showing up to games out there for hockey. I mean,
Foster Brooks, who came up to me and said, you know, I used to work in Buffalo. He was in character, obviously, at that point, but he talked about how he was the public address announcer for the old American Hockey League Buffalo Bisons when he was working on one of my old stations in Buffalo, WGR. But back in those days, Chris, he really was having those lifestyle issues. And he would get a little off color, I guess, on the public address mic sometimes. So there would be some difficulties there. But yeah, the characters you would run into. Monty Hall came up and told us the story of how he used to be the New York Rangers broadcaster and work with Jim Gordon, I think, for $50 a game.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe his first real on-air gig before he got started with Let's Make a Deal. Lorne Green was on the board of directors for Jack Kent Cooke at the Forum, because I think he was a Canadian trapped in Southern California by his acting skills and the Bonanza show.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
the Kings were not that great, but I mean, it must have been a lot of fun to watch
Right.
them play.
And we had a 99-point season, my middle year there. So that was incredible when you consider west of St. Louis, there was really only the old Colorado Rockies, now the Devils, Vancouver Canucks, and the Kings. Because the Seals had already moved to Cleveland and then merged with Minnesota. So the travel usually was right around 75,000 miles, air miles a year, and all commercial. Imagine that.
Now, did you have like funny things happen to you guys on the road? I mean, character things happen, like like Kenny Albert was on with us. He talked about one time he kicked the cord off of the phone plug in the broadcast booth. Didn't know it was off the air and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, there in the old Miami Arena, where the Heat got started along with the Panthers, our ISDN cable was almost exposed in the aisleway. And we got kicked off the air by people just trying to go about doing their jobs, I think 3 times in the third period of a 1-goal game. And there was this huge face-off against Hasek in the Buffalo end, and nobody heard it with like 2.5 seconds to go, where the plan was to set up Patty LaFontaine for the shot. He got it, but nobody at home heard it.
Oh, God. Now you come back to Buffalo. Let's do a line change here. You come back to Buffalo, and what are you coming back to do now in 1982?
It's time to look again and to find. I just knew that I'd be able to pick up something there from my previous experiences. So I actually hooked on initially helping out on Rochester Red Wings baseball broadcast, just a 16-mile drive away, doing those. And then the next year, Bob Rich Jr. and his family bought the Buffalo Bison's AA baseball franchise. And he hired me and another guy to put the games on the air. We started out, we could only get on a daytime station. But that was the summer that The Natural was filmed at War Memorial Stadium in 1983. So we had to find another station pretty quickly because they were shooting all throughout the day, and we had once 2 straight doubleheaders begin at 9 o'clock at night. So we got on Ramblin' Lou Shriver's Country WXRL to do the games there and do that. And because previously we were actually on the Urban Contemporary station, WUFO, 1080 Magic in Buffalo, doing that. And then I picked up Sports Talk at WBEN, ultimately the color on the Buffalo Bills, then a weekly Buffalo Bills highlight show. And now that was my biggest challenge. The 3 years we did that show, the record was 2-14, 2-14, and then signed Jim Kelly and double the win total to 4, including 1 loss in the Meadowlands to the Jets, where Hank Bulla, the head coach at the time, decided to try the Canadian defense. Put 12 defenders out there against the Jets, and Mickey Schuler was still wide open at the end zone in overtime for the game-winning touchdown from Ken O'Brien. So I did that, and then all of a sudden hosting the Sabres cable cast and doing the intermissions for them came open. So I kind of cobbled together a lot of things, and then after 6 years, the Rich family also bought WGR Radio and made me sports director, and we had the rights to all the teams.
That's nice. Now you're there, and what was it like to be kind of like you said, cobbling everything together?
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be exciting, but also had to be a little bit frustrating, probably too. Like saying, is this how my career is going to go? I mean,
it was sometimes very exhausting, except that the adrenaline was such. I mean, there were times where, 40 to 50 days in a row with no break.
Yeah, especially minor league baseball. You're traveling on buses.
That's right. And at least they went back to AAA in 1985. So, and it was in the American Association. So we weren't playing that ballpark that was an hour away from my home base in Rochester. We were going to Indianapolis, Omaha, Des Moines, and Oklahoma City and Denver. So that made things a little bit even more demanding, if you will. But it was still an awful lot of fun. I got feelers. I got a chance to go to the Cleveland Indians. I had just gotten married and decided not to do that route because the Indians' broadcast rights were only going to be held for 1 more year by the station.
You didn't have a job.
And in conjunction with that, how about the experience in Seattle?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take a 1-year flyer and anything like that.
We'll have more with Pete after this.